Who is flickering these lights?
Nosferatu!
Welcome back to the 1.5 White Guys podcast, or more Listed White Guy Opinions on Movies. I'm Nathan, your half white guy.
I'm Nick, the one white guy.
And today we have it is our special holiday-themed Christmas celebration. You wouldn't be able to tell if you look at Nick. Somebody forgot their holiday sweater.
Well, usually it's really warm in here. I'm wearing a hoodie right now, so it's cold.
But I've got the ghost face holiday sweater. It is the swing of the holiday season, and of course, if you know us, what better way to celebrate than with a good horror movie?
And trust us, there's some eggnog in here.
Some eggnog, maybe a little bit more in here for me, if you know what I mean. But first of all, we want to extend a happy holidays to all of our watchers and viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for continuing to support us, listen to us, and everything through this year. And we hope you have a very festive Festivus.
Yes.
And trust me, there will be an airing of grievances coming soon. What better way to celebrate the 25th of December than with a movie releasing on the 25th of December? That's right, everyone. Today we are talking Nosferatu, the original in preparation for the 2024 remake by, what's his face?
Robert Eggers.
Robert Eggers, starring Pennywise and
Johnny Depp's daughter.
He from Antichrist. The Green Goblin. This is every time I bring it up.
Why?
You remember,
Why do you always bring up Antichrist?
You remember he was an Antichrist. You remember, audience, right?
I remember.
Right? Look at me. Zoom in on me. You remember.
I remember his giant Dr. Manhattan dong in that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's Willem Dafoe. Anyway, we're very excited for the new Nosferatu. Trailers for this have looked really cool. And to be honest, Nosferatu, the original, is probably one of my favorites. It occurs in the most... at least my favorite movement in film, the German Expressionist movement.
What are you, a film student?
Yeah, you are too. I got better grades. That's why I'm talking.
Why didn't you finish it? Why didn't you finish mixing my thesis?
Well, that wasn't required for a grade.
It's the holiday season.
The Christmas/holiday season, and a big tradition we like to do is exchanging gifts. As this is our second year, we've done it twice, so it is a tradition. So, Nick, I got a little something for you.
Did you?
Yes. Now it's wrapped, but it's in this box. I figured you and Vanessa could both enjoy it for your guys' home.
I'm going to open this now. Let's see what he got me. Some rope.
Yeah, there you go. To hang yourself with as you keep talking this podcast.
Oh, very nice. It's a welcome, not really sign with a bunch of slasher killers on there.
Yeah, I thought that would go well in your guys' front door or in your apartment or something like that.
Oh, this is perfect. We have Freddy, Pennywise, Jason, Chucky, Ghostface, and Michael Myers.
Show them one more time. Show them all the little boys, all the scary boys right there. There you go.
Thank you for that.
All right.
And thank you for this.
Oh, there you go. All right. The happy holidays. Look, it's a dinosaur. Maybe it's a trick of what's inside. Is it a dinosaur bone? Hell yeah. This is what's up. If you know me, one of the things I got very much into is the Jersey Shore reality show. And Nick has gotten me a Team Meatball t-shirt, very much to go with my, what was it? You got me the Skin of a Killer, right? Last year. Team Meatball. That's Dina and Snooki together. They are really the dynamic duo. And to be honest, you know who ended up the best out of all of them? Dina. She's a very reasonable person now that she's grown up. First time listeners to this podcast will be like, I thought we were talking about fucking Nosferatu. We're talking about Jersey Shore.
Look at us on the Nosferatu review of all reviews.
I mean,
raving about Jersey Shore.
This is our Christmas episode.
The peak of Jersey Shore.
This is our Christmas episode. So, I mean, this is kind of what we're working on.
This is the end of the year. We can do whatever we want.
Listen, we're surprised we made it this long, too. Enough of the holiday cheer. Let's get into the spooky. We are doing Nosferatu, a Symphony of Horror, directed by F.W. Murnau, released in, 1922, right? Co-written by Bram Stoker. Technically, that's how it is on IMDb. Technically, there's a whole controversy surrounding that, and we'll get into it.
Ooh.
And Henrik Galeen, actually helped write the Golem. I don't know if you watched that one. I love The Golem. It's another great German Expressionist movie starring Max Schreck, Willem Dafoe, as Count Orlok. Shrek. Hey now. Gustav von Wagenheim. It's either Wagenheim or Wagenheim, but I'm pretty sure with the German it's Wagenheim. Gustav von Wagenheim as Hutter, Greta Schroeder as Ellen, and Alexander Grenache as Nock. Grenache. Could be, but Nock. Nock is my favorite because he's so clearly not right from the beginning. And yet everyone, he looks so clearly something's wrong. Like he looks so under the influence of something, whether it's supernatural or maybe more physical.
Yeah, as soon as he shows up, I'm like, do they trust this guy to be running this business? He does. He looks like he already belongs at that asylum, man.
Maybe it's just a criticism of capitalism. Like they're like, that's how all business owners, these fat, disgusting, evil pigs look.
He looks like Jacob Marley when he comes back from the dead.
Yeah,
his hair is all wacky. He's got dark brown hair,
got huge eyebrows.
His eyebrows are fucked, honestly. Right?
He's rotund, man. He looks like
Danny DeVito throughout this whole movie. I was like, they should have gotten Danny DeVito in this new one. I'm telling you, he's coming to us, and when he does, I'm gonna blast him. Don't worry, Master, I'll blast them all for you.
Hunter, did anyone sleep with my whore wife? Have you slept with my whore wife? Is anyone else? All right, enough Always Sunny impressions. Nick, can you lead us in with the IMDb summary?
Vampire Count Orlok expresses interest in a new residence and real estate agent Hutter's wife.
This is actually what happens, but also really not at all what
This is the best paraphrase I've ever seen.
This is like, it's almost like they're out to lunch and it's like, hey, you work in real estate, right? It's like, yeah, it's like, do you have anything that's like good? It's like, no, it's like, oh, okay. Like, okay, I'll look at that. By the way, how are you in that? It's like, we got married. You got married. Oh, that's so great. I'm so happy for you. And then they just go off in their ways. That's what this IMDb summary sounds like. This is nothing at all.
Very brief catch up. Facebook messaging catch up.
This is nothing at all. This is what happens and absolutely not at all what happens.
You know,
right?
When I read this, I thought, this has such little personality to it that I feel this could be any genre. It could be a rom-com for all I know.
Yeah.
Like he just maybe these two fall in love and it's a happy vampire story.
It's like that.
Or it's just, Count Orlok, he's down on his luck and he's just like, I need a fresh start, everybody. It's like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
I need a fresh start. I'm going to go buy a house because I have all this money and I may or may not fall in love.
Not that down on his luck then.
No, it really is a Christmas movie.
But I don't have anyone to share it with. And you know who would do well? Your wife.
That or that hyena running around outside.
That's a werewolf. We'll introduce a new award ceremony for this. This is the most boiled down summary I've ever read. Honestly, we've had so far. Why don't you tell me about your past experiences with Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror, 1922?
This was actually the second time I ever saw it.
Really?
I want to say the first time I saw it was lockdown.
Really?
I had all that time, and I was like, I've never actually seen this. I want to see that movie about that one guy from SpongeBob.
Yeah. Also, this is readily available to watch. Like, you can watch this on Wikipedia.
You watch this anywhere,
with no sound. Like, this is readily available to watch anywhere. Tubi has it. Pluto has it. Tubi has like 3 different versions. Some are tinted, some are colored, some are not.
There is not one version. There's multiple.
There's not one definitive version, and we'll get to the reason about that a little bit later. But there's a reason why. But go ahead.
Is it a drama reason?
Oh, there's drama. There's drama in this.
Ooh, I can't wait. That's it. I knew about it. I just knew how much of it was based on Dracula, but I didn't realize how much down to the T it was.
It's Dracula.
It's just German Dracula. But I had already seen Dracula at that point. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. But the Dracula story is pretty burned in my mind. I read the book too, so I'm pretty well versed in it and everything. So that's what makes this remake kind of interesting because it looks like they're borrowing from both the actual 1922 movie and the novel itself. Yeah, because all their names are the same as they are in the movie, but it looks all of it so much looks more like you're watching. Either the Coppola movie or the Bela Lugosi movie. Sure. Yeah, so watching this again, I thought there's a lot of creepiness to it that many movies that even with all the technical achievements we've come up with the past decade it still can't make as creepy as it is in this movie.
This one has a lot of atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
It does. It's very atmospheric for how quiet and,
I think for the right score, though.
Yes.
The one I had, I wasn't the biggest fan of.
What was your kind of it?
Oh, I don't really know, but the differences between the versions and the musical scores that accompany them.
There's tons of different audio versions.
I think the music was passable, but I do think the version I saw first had different, more chilling music to it.
The audio for this really makes it like there's been all kinds of people that have rescored this movie. Like there's been tons of rescores. I've gotten to see a live version of this rescore.
Oh,
they always rescore black and white movies,
like Suspiria.
Suspiria.
Did you get your ears blown out?
No, not this one. Suspiria is still not my favorite one I ever got to see rescored. That's Metropolis.
Oh,
but it was the same place, but it was the SF.
He is a film student.
The SF Philharmonic was the one doing it, and it was a completely new one they came up with.
Oh,
so I was
that's why it would be totally worth it.
I was like, this was way better. I'm sorry, right. I do love Suspiria. We got to see Goblin live. That was fun, but it did not beat an actual SF's Philharmonic Symphony Orchestra or whatever coming up with a new version of the Metropolis score and live playing it to the entire 3 fucking hour movie. I started getting into German Expressionism in junior college. My first 2 years, I went to community college, and I took some film classes. And I just told the instructor that I just wanted to, I love horror. I don't want to talk about horror. And she said, "Well, you need to start watching German Expressionism. That's where it's all started." I already liked history, so I just went into it, and it became quickly my favorite film movement ever. I think it has a lot to do with Germany's position post World War I. And where everything came from and the darkness that they experienced. And I think they created in the New World a very, very unique style and visual aesthetic. And Nosferatu, besides Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and Metropolis and M and, Golem are is kind of top of the list. You need to watch Phantom of the Opera as well. How they do things in this movie with the use of shadow to make Orlok seem even longer and bigger than he is, as though he's he just elongated to the point where it's feels, and Max Schreck was 6'3", so that makes sense. He's taller than everyone, but the way they use the shadow to make him feel just long and big, but not wide. He's lanky. He's lanky almost to the point that it's very, very unnerving. This doesn't look like a human.
He looks like a stretched out goblin.
Yep.
I can see why Demons took a little bit from this movie, especially because of those 2 front teeth that he has. And that immediately made me think of who made Demons? Was it Lamberto Bava?
It's Bava.
Yeah. Demons, one of his favorites too. Hopefully we can do that one soon.
One day. I can see that one.
Because that
one scored live is really good too.
That one's actually got some really scary monsters in it.
Some really scary ones.
So I thought I could see how this movie inspired so many that came after it. Not just vampire movies, but just horror in general.
Yeah.
The atmospheric horror in general, but I guess monsters too. They don't have to be vampires.
Yeah. So that was it. Junior college, I watched this movie along with Cabinet and a bunch of others, and I was just very blown away. It's one of those things I watched once, and it's always stuck with me, which is why I was so excited to see this remake happening again.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And why it's constantly held up as one of the most important films. I think it's on several 100 must-see films before you die, that type stuff, 1,000 films or whatever. This holds up for a reason. So F.W. Murnau is gay. His lover died on the Eastern Front in World War I. And so there's a lot of darkness in all of his work, and this especially, right? Where you see the lover that you have to try to save, and someone that this dark force that almost you can't stop. And even if you do stop it, it might not even work. It's there's so much baked into this of what he experienced. I feel like
there's a lot about this movie that has to do with loss and suffering as well. Because when he does come to what's it called, Wisborg, he brings his pet rats with him.
He brings absolute hell.
That's that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
It very emphasized in the Werner Herzog remake too. That a lot of that movie is centered around how badly the plague just totally tears through the country.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of time in Wisborg. If you look at it with the runtime, I think he's only there for 20 minutes.
A lot of the movie has to do with them traveling there.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
because it's Dracula.
20 minutes in the castle, 20 minutes, like 30, 40 minutes on the road, and then 20 minutes there. And he's just like,
no, he's just standing at his window looking at Ellen like,
good.
who is this fucking neighbor? Who is this guy?
Hunter, who the fuck did you sell that to? He said he was going to give me lots of money.
I did it for us.
Me, you, and the cat.
No, me, you, and the Count.
Yeah, oh my God. Let's talk about what this is. This is an unsanctioned, unlicensed adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Very unsanctioned. Very unlicensed.
Get the rights to the story. And FW now said, fuck it, we'll do it anyway. And the thing is, I don't even think Bram Stoker's estate, his widow, knew that this was happening. I think she just said, no, you can't do it. And then all of a sudden the movie was made.
I thought I said no.
And this is why, like, there's no definitive version. All known copies had to be destroyed because of the lawsuit. So all of the original Nosferatu copies were destroyed that they knew of. And the only reason this exists, it was like people that collected and just movies that got sent somewhere that they couldn't find. Yeah, this is just found through random. And it was always, they would always find part of it. They never found everything. Like they had, like one of the problems is especially the subtitles, the cards, you know what I mean? They didn't know, a lot of these versions did not have that in there that they found.
So they made this up.
They had no idea for a while. What was the original subtitles? What was he even saying? What was this supposed to say? One of the things that they would do is when this was sent to America, they would take the original subtitles. This is before all the prints are destroyed. And they would translate it into English, but use the original names of Bram Stoker's characters.
Oh.
So it's not Hutter, it's not Orlok, it's Dracula. He's Dracula in those original prints.
Harker. Mina.
But then also what would happen is they send it back to like France, and then they translate from English into French. So now it's like multiple translations. So things are getting confused. Things are getting lost.
So it's all a big game of telephone.
Yeah, it's a complete mess. And then like some prints are like, because it's all shot during the day. All of this is shot during the day. There's no shots at night. Anything that's shot at night is in like a warehouse. But because they couldn't show that, they had to try to tint it blue for the nights to be like, oh, it's night outside, because everything's shot at night. It's so clearly shot during the day. Right. But unfortunately, not all the prints got tinted. Who's got the subtitles? Where is this going? And so they would never find a full version of this thing. However, they finally were like, hey, we think there's one in like an East German archive in like this small like area. I think must be during, I don't know if it was after World War II, like communism, and it was like the East Bloc and stuff like that. And they were like, okay. And they went looking for it. And when they got there, somebody's like, oh, yeah, but somebody checked it out. It's not here right now. So they were just like, well, they're like, was there anything else? And they said, yeah, we think we have like a partially like destroyed copy. And the partially destroyed copy, they found all of the subtitles still on there that were preserved. So like the original cards. Oh. So they were like, we don't even need the copy. We just need the cards. So they managed to find it, and they finally put this thing back together, at least as much as we think. It is guaranteed it's not the same story, and it's not the same cut. In fact, one of the characters, one of the actresses, Ruth Lanshoff, who played one of the people's sisters, said, yeah, there's this scene where like at night where like Count Orlok is like chasing me down the beach. That doesn't exist. That's not in any of the cuts.
Release the Snyder cut.
Release the Snyder. Either she's lying or we lost a scene somewhere, or maybe they never even put it to the original cut.
Maybe.
What a mess to try to get this thing back together.
Humpty Dumpty, they could have put back together better than this, I guess. It sounds like.
I guess so. And who knows? Who knows if it's really 100% true? All of those were destroyed. All of the negatives were destroyed as part of the lawsuit.
Hashtag release the Murnau cut.
Release the Murnau cut. Well, he died even before they were trying to put the thing back together. So, but we'll get into that. His time a little bit later. But yeah, so this all to say, there's a million different versions out there. some with music, some without, some with better music than others. Some are just like prog rock and metal versions of the.
I wish I'd watch that.
Yeah, of the thing. When I got to see it live, I got to see it at the Alamo, and it was more of like a metal rock type thing. Yeah, but they also had some like prog rock style to it. The musicians took up like the first 2 rows, and they were pretty chill. They did 2 shows. One was they did Cabinet. They did a live rescore of Cabinet, Dr. Caligari, and I was like, okay, I've seen that before. I don't need to watch another live rescore. But I'd never seen Nosferatu live, so I said, okay, let's do that. And that was really cool.
What I watched was it was an orchestra playing throughout it.
Nice.
And I left the subtitles on, so there was just one constant like caption that said orchestra music. Again, if you know the story of Dracula, this is just Dracula. As much as it pains me to say this is Bram Stoker's Dracula, even though his estate did not sign off on this. It is about, in bare bones, I will say this better than the IMDb summary. It is about a real estate agent who goes from his small little village to Transylvania to finalize a deal between this mysterious rich count and for him to purchase land in this town. And then the count turns out to be
a vampire.
Well, a hell-spawn, scary looking pale freak.
Yes.
Your wife has a lovely neck. That made me laugh. It's just like, your wife has a lovely neck. And Hutter's just like, oh, thank you. And I'm like, who the fuck says that? Is that German? It's Dracula. He said he locks him up and he fucks off to the town so he can have the woman for himself.
Yeah,
that's Dracula. It's the move. That's what Nosferatu is essentially.
Yeah, and there's some really funny lines and just kind of mannerisms.
There's some unintentional humor.
Like
in this,
Knock himself as like Hutter's boss, who's like, hey, you can get a lot of money from this guy. Like, and it's funny because he's looking at in the movie there, he's looking at like a page that has like all of the like ancient ciphers and scribbles on it, and I go, yeah, that's probably a spell that's possessing him. You know, when you look at
ancient hieroglyphics,
it's ancient stuff, and he's like, yes, and I go, that's not even language. That's just like old stuff, and apparently it's based on like stuff from like the 1600s that people found, like old stuff, and they wrote down in the notebooks, like archaeologists and stuff. So they based it all on that, which is really funny, really, really funny that he's just like, yeah, you can look at this, and Hunter's like, what the fuck are you reading?
Make a lot of money.
Tell me more.
Okay.
So I also was reading these exterior shots of like the towns and stuff like that, and even like his castle and stuff like that. They look really good, right? Like,
all right.
Stuff. Most of those buildings are still intact.
That rocks.
That's awesome. Most are almost 102 years. They're still around. Most of them are still around. Like some things, like I think like the apartment set is built in a warehouse, right? That stuff's in a warehouse. Like when she looks out the window and she sees the other building, that building is in a warehouse. I'm pretty sure. Exterior shots, like all this stuff's like still intact from what I was reading. And now I kind of want to go visit, see all these things, you know? I think it'd be cool. Like
you would, yeah.
I don't know. It's a lot of fun. Apparently that pub still might be intact.
No way.
I guess as well. So, you know, hey, let's go in there and just spend the night, find a book, ignore it.
Chuck it over your shoulder. Because Hutter is he's a strapping young lad. He's got himself a fiance, I think, or a wife. No, they're already married, I think. He wants to provide for her more, so he takes up the opportunity to get this deal done and make a little extra cash.
Yep.
So but Ellen is his wife, and what is her name? Greta Schroeder?
Greta Schroeder, yeah.
Greta Schroeder. Just let me touch on her. She's amazing in this.
She does really well.
Everybody is amazing in this.
She sells everything well in this.
I think everybody does because, again, there's no audio to these movies. Like everybody in this era had to act with, their body language, their facial expressions, but everybody acts amazingly in this with their eyes.
Yes.
I think. Even Max Schreck, even though he's got one look. He's got one look and it's... But with her, like she knocks it out of the park with all this kind of fear and confusion she has to convey sometimes at the same time. And even right down to like her, I now know what I must do moment at the end of the movie. But even at the beginning, we can tell in just a quick couple of minutes how much these two care for each other. That they're a happy married couple. She's, he's a little more gung ho than her. He's very gung ho in this. He's like,
why did you kill the flowers?
I'm going to Transylvania. What's the worst that could happen?
Why did you kill the flowers? Is my favorite line she says to him.
What a millennial ass line.
He gives her a bunch of flowers and she goes, these are beautiful. Why did you kill them? Why did you end their life? And I was like, this poor guy can't win. You can't win. You can't fucking win.
That's called having a girlfriend, gentlemen. No, she said that. And I thought of just like American Dad, where it's like, oh, thank you. Oh, these are cheap. That's exactly what she looked like. It's so weird how women wore their hair back then, like because she's got these specific like bulky curls coming down like the side of her head.
Well,
as soon as I saw her, I was like, "Are those dreads?"
Well, it's set during. It's supposed to be set like 1830 something. I think.
You're right. It is early 1800s.
So I forget the era it's called, and I'll have to look it up later. But it's immediately post Napoleonic War. It's a time where like things are actually kind of, there's like a little bit of interest in like the arts and study and everything, and then like 20 to 30 years later, there's like more wars.
Yeah, the Count of Monte Cristo is happening somewhere else right now.
Yeah, it's a specific era. I'll have to come up with it. It's like Napoleonic Wars, nice and fun time where people are growing and like, art and stuff. More wars, break for the Belle Epoque era. Worst war you've ever fucking seen. And then I go, and that's the 1800s to the 1900s right there.
What a time to live.
What a great time. They have no idea what's coming.
The acting with everybody's eyes, for instance, Herr Knock is like a big example of that. You meet him and he's already under Count Orlock's spell. He's shifty-eyed as all hell. And it's just like, there's something up with this guy. But yeah, this one line I thought was great. He's just like, you are going to the land of thieves and phantoms in Transylvania.
Thieves and phantoms.
He might as well have told him, go close this deal in the Tenderloin, please. I need you to go. He's just like, oh, great. Where am I flying to? Detroit. And then he runs it. He doesn't care. He's so happy to make this extra cash that he runs home and tells Ellen, I'm going to the land word for word. I'm going to the land of thieves and phantoms. The look on her face is like, he might as well have just told her, me and the boys are going to Vegas, babe. And she's just like,
why?
What?
Why?
What? She's great. And I love her so much.
She does well.
Because I feel terrible for her most of the time because this woman cracks up halfway into the movie. Because of this bastard. And I don't mean Thomas.
He's off on his own. He's off to go seek his fortune in the
Transylvania.
Land of Transylvania. Gets there very quickly. I will say this. As far as traveling goes, he's there like next scene.
Yeah, they just moved one matte painting over.
They moved him over very quickly.
Actually, I did want to say...
Coming back takes a while.
I did want to say about the matte painting thing. The shots of the scenery of the countryside in this movie are great.
Yeah.
Like when he's got to be like traveling there and whatnot, you see the carriages rolling over the hills and such. I'm like, that's gorgeous. This is beautiful.
It looks great. He shows up and he spends the night before in like the town that's like at the base of the mountain, and they say, hey, don't go out. There's a werewolf around as well, which is kind of a crazy thing to add in there. Is that even in the original book? Is there like, hey, there's a werewolf? This happens to be
There's
a werewolf.
wolves. There's wolves. That's who he mentions when he says children of the night.
Oh yeah. No, these are just werewolves. Somebody says there's just a fucking werewolf, like in the inn, in the tavern. Hey, there's a werewolf out. You can't be going out in the middle of the night.
Oh, they say it as nonchalantly as saying, it's raining, you should stay here.
I'm sorry, did you say wolf or werewolf? Werewolf.
I'll get your room ready.
and then it shows it, and it's a hyena. It's a hyena, which is really funny.
I saw it and I was like, oh, look at that little guy.
He's doing his fucking best.
That's cultural appropriation.
Oh,
right
God.
there. The werewolves community was very up in arms about the casting of a hyena.
These good boys.
That's one of my favorite tropes in like any Dracula movie is the little scared town like on the outskirts of where his castle is. Just like when I'm going to Count Dracula's castle and
you might as well just said like one of the most crazy things you've ever heard in your life, because he's just like, everyone freaks out at this idea. You're going to go up to the castle? Like that's that. And then everyone's like, it's fucking horrifying. And it's like, well, why don't you all move? That's a good idea. Why are we here?
Let's take the werewolf with us. While we're at it.
Let's go with the werewolf. It's like he's like, well, you're here. It's a good point. And the funniest part about this too is he gets the room, and who gives him the book?
I forget. Is it the innkeeper?
It's one of the paranoid townsfolk. They give him a book that kind of outlines what a vampire is. And in fact, I think it might have said that even Count Orlok used to exist, like older. Like he's been around forever, and like
does it specifically talk about him?
I don't know if it's him or just like a vampire. And we'll talk about Nosferatu as well. Nosferatu means the insufferable one or the accursed one. It doesn't mean, it's not his name. It means like a vampire or just like a bad one. The other.
It's kind of like how, when we grew up, we thought the shark's name was Jaws.
Shark
Jaws.
is not named Jaws. That's funny. Yeah. So the book kind of lays out the idea that the vampire exists, and he wakes up first thing in the morning, and it's really funny, the contrast, because it's all this darkness and he's so unsure, and he wakes up in the morning. He's like, I'm having a great day. He's rested and refreshed. He's going to go over and get that deal.
Yeah. Again, he's so gung ho for this whole movie. He couldn't be like more upbeat and positive.
Yes.
About everything.
He opens the book, reads about the vampires, the Nosferatu, and he goes, this is fucking useless, and just throws it down. It just completely disregards the warning, and it's so funny.
I don't know what they gave this to me.
Everyone, especially when I saw it in theaters, everyone fucking dies at that. It's so funny. It's one of those intentionally funny, or even if it was supposed to be unintentional. Oh my God, so good. But now he's on the way, and he walks a little bit, and he meets up with a carriage that's going to take him up. And it's supposed to be set at night, but it's set during the day. And they use the different frame rates to really give the idea that this thing is moving at Mach speed.
I know. It's just like up.
So it's driven by an unnamed person. Who knows who it's driven by?
You know who it is.
It's Count Orlok.
He's
not even kind of dressed up. He's just like, he has like a hat and a cloak on. And he's like, this is what people wear.
That's one Uber driver you do not want to get in the car with.
Yes.
But he rolls up looking already
ominous,
suspicious.
Dark, suspicious. And he gets, Hunter gets in the carriage, and he takes off. And they really emphasize that this thing is moving like as fast as like the speed of sound, because he looks out and he's like, whoa, it's like a fan blowing on him. He's like, whoa, we're moving so fast.
Whoa.
And carriage drops him off, says, see ya, takes off, and the guy
and then Count Orlok jumps out of the carriage and runs really fast into around the other side of the castle.
What's over there?
I like his hat.
He does have a nice. He has a little like Robin Hood hat.
Yeah,
so I would put it with the feather in and stuff.
To make him look a little more human, I guess.
Oh my God, it's really funny. And the castle ominously opens for him, and
we meet Count Orlok. That really creepy shot of him coming out of the shadows into the courtyard.
Which, if you've seen Shadow of the Vampire, which is the first time like he meets him in that, I don't know. Shadow of the Vampire is this idea where Max Schreck, the guy that plays Count Orlok, is actually a vampire. Played by Willem Dafoe.
He was a vampire in real life.
He played, yeah. And he's played by Willem Dafoe. And the
vampires exist.
And the funniest thing about Willem Dafoe is like he's like 5'7", 5'6".
Oh yeah, he's a short kid.
I know, and Max Schreck is like 6'3", so it's like not that imposing.
Took some liberties, I guess.
Yeah.
At least they got Willem Dafoe.
Yeah. About 8 to 9 inches of liberty. Anyway,
you can't do this to me.
Anyway. And yeah, him coming out and just welcoming him in is this really dark thing. Like, he is very ominous looking.
I mean, he's not very welcoming either. Hooter walks up to him, and the first thing out of his mouth is, "You're late.
You're late." All of the servants are already asleep. There's no one in the
What servants?
There's no one in the castle.
He's just emphasizing it's the middle of the night.
Yeah. He eats some food while Count Orlok just reads the notes, and maybe he's reading hieroglyphics, and maybe he's reading the actual contract for the building.
What the fuck is this?
HOA. What do you mean trash barrels cannot be out for more than an hour prior to pickup?
What the fuck you mean my grass has to be cut a certain length?
Who is cutting the grass? I have to pay for this after I already paid the property taxes. Oh my God. Count Orlok or Dracula dealing with an HOA is a funny thing.
Again, well, that's what the IMDb summary made it sound like, is that he's a normal guy doing normal things.
Yeah. You should have said this.
This next scene is actually really kind of darkly funny in the Werner Herzog one. Werner Herzog remade this movie in 1977, starring Klaus Kinski as Count Orlok. So he ends up cutting himself.
With trying to slice some bread, yeah.
Trying to slice some bread. He's distracted at some point. So he cuts his finger. Count Orlok, of course, is just... He sees the blood on his finger, and he's just trying to act cool about it. Yeah, you're bleeding on your finger. Stands up. And then just flips the table full of food and starts like walking towards him really fast.
Oh my God.
And Hooter's like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa.
In this one, Orlok cannot contain himself. He starts like going after that wrist again. That's scary. That's really scary.
I would have dipped as soon as I saw the man. I mean, he is so weird looking already. It's just like, how do you think? You can't believe this is a person. If someone came out looking like that, because he's completely bald. His ears are very pointed.
Yeah.
His nose is very elongated. He's got two front sharp, like
And his
shark
hands
teeth.
are super long, and then his nails are even
He
longer.
won't cut his fingernails for some reason.
And his hands are already fucking long. And
His cheeks are really sunken and everything like that. He's got eyeliner like all around him because his eye. He just looks like he doesn't sleep.
Yeah,
like his eyes are as wide as ever.
One of the things that actually happened when this movie came to America is everyone thought Max Schreck was a fake name because Schreck actually means like terror in German. So they were like, yeah, it's some guy calling himself Max Terror, which sounds like a porn star name. But
Max Terror.
Max Terror. And it's like
Max Terror.
starring Max Terror as the plumber. Plumbing, you know what? Your plumbing situation is really scary. Thank God Max Terror is here.
You can guess where it goes from here.
He fixes the cable.
Don't be fatuous, Jeffrey.
It's actually his real name. Max Schreck is his real name, which is really funny.
Is that why Shrek was banned in Germany? They're all scared of him?
Yes. He's back. Oh my God. It's a really ominous, scary thing, I would say, just to see this guy and know, oh fuck, he's gonna be living next to me. He's after, like, and now he thinks my girl's cute. Like, I got all kinds of problems. And just to end the night, Count Orlok is like, why don't you sit next to the fire and talk with me? And then if you remember, he just like Hooter falls asleep in the chair.
Oh, yeah, because he's scaring him. He's like creeping up on him.
Yeah, he's like being all creepy about it. He's like, sit next to me. And then he goes, I sleep during the day. You won't see me. And Hooter wakes up and he actually had like a nice, refreshing night. He's like, I feel so much better despite having, he writes a letter to Ellen and he's like, yeah, I have 2 mosquito bites on my neck. It's wild that they're so close together. The mosquitoes are crazy. It's the only place I'm bit. But, you know, it's kind of wild. And then he gives it to a writer that's like passing the castle, which
I don't know who would
is odd in itself. Who fucking got this close?
Who wants to go that close to the castle?
Yeah. I don't think. I think it'd be funny if it's another salesman trying to sell him something else. like he's just trying to be like, what did you sell him?
A land,
a house. What are you trying to sell him? A boat, a ship. What's he need the ship for? He says he'll need it tomorrow. He says he needs
exactly
it
what
immediately.
happens.
He says that's headcanon now in my mind. And the guy's like, oh, you already sold it to him? Okay, I'll see you later. And then he just like runs off and, you know, takes the letter and he goes off. And
but he has a pretty good day exploring the castle. But he does... is this where he finds him in the coffin?
He finds him in the coffin, sleeping underground and, you know, in the bottom. And, you know, and the other Dracula's what? He's got wives, and Bram Stoker's Dracula's, he's got wives around him.
He's got Monica Bellucci.
Yeah, he's got that. Yeah. In this one, he's got one coffin and a bunch of other coffin filled with all of his wives, which are rats. And I'm assuming
his pet rats.
His pet rats.
And a bunch of others are filled with dirt because, well, that's lore. Is just like he's got to bring like the soiled ground that he was buried under with him everywhere if he wants to survive. So
yeah, that's the lore.
Why the fuck did this guy bring 30 coffins on this ship?
It's but I think the next night he stays the whole night, which is really funny because I would have left.
Well, what's done is the work is done. I'm gonna go.
Yeah. So he sees, you know, he has the whole thing where he's trying to fall asleep in the castle, and he's like, I think he's awake, and he opens the door after seeing him in the coffins, and at the end of the hallway, Count Orlok is just doing his.
It's the most famous scene in the movie. Of him just kind of like standing there, like.
Yeah, looking all weird. Starts advancing towards him, and he goes, "Fuck!" Shuts the door, and he's like, "There's no lock here." Comes in through the door, and it's like he possesses it. It's almost like he possesses him and just makes him go to sleep, puts him under a spell to like suck more blood.
The shadow of his hand over him.
Yeah, that's where we get the shadow and everything. And I think the most famous scene is him climbing the stairs at the end, though. At least me.
That shot of the shadow
like
of him.
like that. But and then what is it? Hooder wakes up and then all of a sudden he sees like Count Orlok loading up all the
That was kind of funny.
loading up all the coffins
because it's
at
all
super
really
speed.
Yeah.
He's
He's like stacking them neatly, and then he gets in the top one, and then
the horse just drives off.
No, he uses the force to put the lid on.
put the lid back on, and
then he goes off to try to score.
Yeah, I think that's we can kind of leave it here.
I don't want to spoil the end.
I mean,
the end's pretty powerful in its own way.
It's there's some iconic shots in the end, and just basically, if you want a masterclass in how to create atmosphere and build tension, and you don't have modern technology or you're limited, like this is it. Like the use of shadow, the everything, and I mean the use of black and white, and how the limitations they have of no sound and everything. And it's like, can you create something that's truly, they really get horror down quickly, and it's just kind of fun to watch. And look at black and white. Watch, we're black and white now. Now we're not.
How you doing, Sonny?
Yeah. Anyway, should we move on to the facts section?
I'd love to.
All right.
I want to hear more.
All right, facts section. I'm going to open my stuff too. Just a reminder, we've had some facts, but these are real facts I found about the movies. Nick's never read them before, and I wrote them down for him, and he's going to read them live for you. And again, these are real facts, just with some other stuff included.
All right, fact number 1. Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror, was released on March 4th, 1922, and premiered at the Berlin Zoological Garden. Although there are disputes on exact figures, international numbers for this movie were 19,054, with a total gross of 45,545 worldwide on release. Some of its competition in 1922 included Robin Hood, starring Douglas Fairbanks, Dr. Mabuse.
Mabuse or Mabuse, I'm not sure.
Dr. Mabuse the Gambler, directed by the genius Fritz Lang. And finally, the controversial Nanook of the North, starring straight up prejudice propaganda.
Yeah, we took a...
Don't you mean Norm of the North?
No. We took a documentary class in college together, and we talked about Nanook of the North and like how it's all fake. It was supposed to be, it's like regarded as like the first documentary, but it's a documentary style, but it's all contrived and just racist. And
you can say that about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre because it's shot like a documentary.
Yeah.
Just be like, this really happened.
Yeah. But
why didn't the cameraman help those poor people?
Poor guys. But yeah, it's a highly controversial movie, especially nowadays, where it has a place in film history, but it's just so... just straight up racist toward Inuit tribes and everything. And like, it's just not true. It's like, this is their custom. It's like, no. How could you? How could you fucking do this? But that was it on release. So when Nosferatu released, it was a big deal to premiere at the Berlin Zoological Film Garden, which is now just the zoo. It's just the zoological. It's the zoo. There was a Fest de Nosferatu, das Fest des Nosferatu. So there's like, everyone was encouraged.
Like a Lebowski Fest?
Yeah. Well, everyone was encouraged to come in costume and arrive in Biedermeier costume. And Biedermeier is the time period I was not being able to think of earlier where I talked about it. It's a time following the post-Napoleonic Wars of 1815 and ending in the revolutions of 1848. Everyone's doing a little bit better, but it's like that Napoleonic style of the grandiose and stuff kind of obviously was super big. So big that Bram Stoker's widow heard about it and said, "What the fuck?
Whoa. What is this?"
I said, no.
What part of "I don't give you permission" did you not understand?
I'm assuming it was so big, a bunch of smart people said, we gotta fuck. I was like, dude, Bram Stoker's, we're gonna hear about this. We gotta start hiding copies.
They planned for it, probably.
Good on Nosferatu. It still made some money. And did push F.W. Murnau as like the it boy of Germany.
When did he make Sunshine?
Murnau makes Sunrise 5 years later in 27. But the big thing I also want to say is Murnau would also go on to do Faust, which is one of my favorite ones as well. Faust is a really, really good German Expressionist movie. It's been one of the ones I've thought about a lot. So Faust is 26, and then he makes Taboo, and he dies shortly, I think, before its release or something like that. But we'll talk about that I think the next fact.
Fact number 2.
Yeah, go ahead.
On March 10th, 1931, Murnau was injured in a car accident in Santa Barbara and died the next day. At his funeral, Fritz Lang delivered the eulogy. In July of 2015, F.W. Murnau's grave was broken open and his skull stolen. Candle wax was found at the scene suggesting occult or pagan rituals. White women, I know you loved Harry Potter, but you are not really a witch. Return the skull of F.W. Murnau or face the wrath of this world's real vampire, the film industry. They haven't found his skull.
It's gone.
Someone just stole his human remains, and it's been never recovered.
Yeah, and let's be honest, why are they stealing it? Because he did Nosferatu, and somebody that's Daredevil is like, I'm witchy and shit, probably, or like witchy people.
The crystals told me to.
Yeah. Stole the skull, broke in, stole the skull, and they haven't found it since. And they don't know where it is.
That's a whole nother like movie right there.
It's another fucking horror movie almost. It's like,
that's so weird.
it is weird, right? To just like steal it and shit.
That reminds me of some Ed Gein shit, man.
Yep. So fucked up. It's fucked up they took it. Shall we move on to the final fact, the What a Story mark?
Alas, poor FW. I knew
him well.
I knew him well.
Anyway, move on to the last fact.
The What a Story mark is the most outlandish fact Nathan could find, and he put some funny stuff in there, and now I'm going to read it to you. I don't know what this is.
In the vein of our hero, Tommy Wiseau.
What a story, Mark.
I once knew a girl. She had a dozen vampires.
Knew a dozen vampires, okay.
One of them found out about it.
Moved in the house across from her and just stared at her.
So then she had 13 vampires.
It got worse for her. Things got worse. You're right.
What a story, Mark. Nosferatu was widely regarded as terrifying for viewers on release. Many European countries had to put warnings prior to showings warning of, quote, abject terror on screen. Sweden actually banned the movie outright, citing excessive horror, and wouldn't allow it to be shown until 1972. On September 1st of 1939, Sweden declared neutrality in a conflict that would eventually become World War II, yet helped Nazi Germany by supplying raw materials, turning away refugees, and censoring the press of anyone within the country who criticized the Axis powers, all while Nosferatu was not allowed to be shown. Just to recap, a spooky movie about a vampire, too scary and immoral. Pretending to be neutral and yet supporting Nazi Germany, that's fine.
That's fine.
Thank you, Sweden.
Yeah, Sweden, I'm sorry. I know it's grilled. Everyone jokes about it, but I was like, yeah, like it's funny. It was just too easy. It's fucked up. That's what they were doing. As fucked up as it is, Sweden, listen, I know you're not like that anymore, but there were some issues. I just think it's funny that they were like, this is morally degenerative to our society. We will not allow it to be shown. And then for fucking like 50 years, and then proceeds to support Nazi Germany.
Not on our watch.
Not on our watch. God, I don't know how much of that I'm going to have to believe. What would you rate that fact out of 5 marks?
That's a good 4.
4 out of 5
pretty
marks.
funny.
4 out of 5 marks for Nazi Germany supporting Sweden.
Do you have a vampire movie or a horror movie at least that I think that can hold a candle to this one in your mind's eye?
I think that, I mean, besides the original Dracula, which is good enough on its own, Bela Lugosi. I mean,
wildly different kinds of stories, though. The same story, but wildly different direction. Yeah,
but I mean, it's just as good, I would say. I mean, obviously, but nowadays, just like a modern vampire story, I think any that are just kind of doing their own thing and just kind of have anything that feels fresh. Do you know what I mean? Like something like 30 Days of Night felt fresh.
Very fresh.
That felt fresh. That was a cool idea where it's like you can't get away because there's no light. Yeah, now you're fucked here.
Yeah, in it. Well, 30 Days of Night was very heavily inspired by Salem's Lot.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Basically, it might as well be a remake of Salem's Lot.
Salem's Lot, stuff like that. Just I don't know if there's anything that can really like. Obviously, this is like the first, right? This is like the first big vampire movie. I don't know if anyone can, if anything can like hold a candle to it. I just think there's ones that.
But it just is incredible how influential it was because Barlow in Salem's Lot, he is He's a carbon copy of Count Orlok. They made him out to look just like him.
Yeah, everything's. I mean, like even like What We Do in the Shadows. What's that?
Oh yeah, they bring that guy.
Yeah, it's so he's Count Orlok. Like that's the whole.
What is this? That's just the camera crew. Who are they?
Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, even like Willem Dafoe doing Shadow of the Vampire, where he's Count Orlok.
What is this?
What am I doing?
What am I supposed to be?
What am I supposed to do? Just read. Just read the notes. They ask him, it's like, what's your least favorite part about the Dracula novel? And Willem Dafoe's Count Orlok, he goes, a man comes in and Dracula has to feed him. Dracula hasn't eaten for thousands of years. Do you even remember what humans eat? He's like, he has to go down and buy bread and fish and try to pretend or something like that.
Goes to a grocery store, just like, what the fuck is this?
Fuck? But I can't believe it's not butter. It's butter.
It's still butter.
It's still butter.
They eat this crap? How do they not die before 50?
See, now we're just doing Adam Sandler from
Hotel Transylvania.
Yeah. Maybe that holds a candle to it.
I want to edit of this where instead of Count Orlok, someone like superimposes the Count from Sesame Street.
Oh yeah.
It's like as Hutter's like hiding under the covers, it's just the Count just walking in. I see one, Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Jesus. But I don't know if there's anything that holds a candle to this. I think that everything is just inspired by this. I think this is the foundation of every vampire movie. Even though Dracula comes 31. Yeah, so it's much later, it's 9 years later. I think that even though this is a copy of a copy and a ripped off copy of a copy, it's so stylistic and so progressive and thoughtful that it just lays a foundation for every vampire related piece of media moving forward. Well, maybe not Twilight, but every vampire piece of media moving forward. And I think that's why it deserves its spot in film and horror history.
Yeah. The acting's great. The cinematography is great for what they were limited in doing. Mm-hmm. They did a lot, thankfully. Mm-hmm. I get why this stood the test of time and why it inspired everything that came after it.
Yeah.
What would you rate this?
I'm gonna give this a 97.
Wow,
97
you love this.
I do love Nosferatu. It's important.
Looking a little limp over there. Why don't you go suck its dick, man?
What about you?
This gets a solid 82 from me. I respect it very much. It's a timeless time capsule of like, this is what they were very afraid of back then, and I think it's incredible to see how much fear is still in us back then. What the kind of things they were afraid of back then are still we are very afraid of, and not just because this movie spoke to us. It's just we're all scared of the similar things even as time goes on. It's been 100 years and we still fear the what do they call it? What is it called? The unknown, the other. Thank you.
Right.
And that's
whatever goes bump in the night.
Exactly. This movie is what goes bump in the night, I think. So
no games on this one. Let's just go see the new Nosferatu and let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of both of them down
below. If you want to, check this one out. Check out the Werner Herzog remake. It's actually really worth checking out too.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have a chance to talk about the Nosferatu one in our next recording session. Just a live, quick reaction. All right. Thank you again for tuning into this episode of the 1.5 White Guys podcast, or more unsolicited white guy opinions on movies. Be sure to rate us, follow us, and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts from. And don't forget to follow us on our Instagram at 1.5 White Guys Pod, on TikTok at 1.5 White Guys Pod, and now on our YouTube at 1.5 White Guys Podcast.
Do be sure to tell a friend to listen to the podcast where we say we're going to talk about a movie, and we kind of talk about that movie.
We talk about vampires.
If you are interested in us a little bit more in a different kind of light, we do have another show exclusively on the Nerd Enthusiast YouTube channel called The Weird, the Bad, and the Bloody, where we talk about the weirdest, baddest, and bloodiest movies of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. We got another one coming up later this month too.
Yeah.
Well, it's at the time of our recording. It's probably a new Christmas release is coming.
Yes,
and it's coming. It's gonna be good.
It's gonna be out there. Is Nosferatu weird, bad, or bloody? No. Maybe weird. It's weird, but
weird is broad.
Yeah. It's good.
I want to call it bloody.
The weirdest thing in it. The weirdest thing in this so far was the IMDb summary. Anyway, guys, have a very fun, safe, and happy Christmas holiday season. Whatever you celebrate, Festivus. and enjoy your time with your families and spend Christmas the way it's supposed to be. Out, watching a vampire kill a bunch of Germans.
Happy holidays, guys. Thank you for watching.
See you next time. Bye.
See you next year.